morning, guys. So today we're going to be talking about complex numbers and roots, okay? We're going to be learning about the imaginary unit I, all right? So you may have heard about it before. As you know, we cannot really have a negative under square root sign, right? So mathematicians came up with the imaginary unit I, right? Because sometimes if you're solving, it'll come up, right? But we want to continue to work our math, right? So I is defined as the square root of -1. So anytime you see a negative under a radical, you know that you're going to have an I involved, okay? So again, I is the square root of -1. So we're going to be simplifying these radicals today, okay? So you can use this imaginary unit to write the square root of any negative number. All right, so let me just show you an example. This, if I broke this up, this would be equivalent to radical 4 times radical -1, right? 4 times -1 is the -4. So here's where your I comes in. I'm not going to require you to break it down like this because eventually once you look at it, you're just going to know you're going to put the I, but I just want to show you. So the square root of 4 is 2, and then you have the square root of -1, which is I, so this is equivalent to 2I. All right, so these are all perfect squares, very easy ones I'm starting with. As soon as you see this negative under there, you know that you're going to have the I in your answer, okay? And the square root of 16 is 4, so this is 4I. All right, the way we like to put it is the real part first and then the imaginary part. So I4 technically wouldn't be wrong, but we like to say 4I, okay? And this one, obviously, the square root of 49 is 7, so this would be 7I. Square root of 100 is 10. This one would be 10I, okay? But they're not always going to be these nice little pretty perfect ones. All right, so here, how would I express this one in terms of I? The square root of the square root of -12, okay? We could break this up. So again, first thing first, we know we have, it's going to be a square root of -1 in there, right? That's our I. And then how can we break up to 12? I want to use one of my perfect squares. Remember when we made that list of all the perfect squares? I want to use the biggest one on the list. In this case, I'm going to break it up. Radical 4 times radical 3, right? So this is radical 4 times radical 3, and then you have times your -1. That's where you get the -12. So now we simplify, right? What is the square root of 4? 2. Radical 3 is just radical 3, right? You can't do anything to that. And then this is I. Okay? So the way we like to write it, you put the real part first, and then you put the imaginary part, and then you leave your radicals last. So this one would be 2I radical 3. Okay? So let's do a couple more. This one, again, I'm going to break it up. This is the square root of 45. So I'm going to use radical 9, right, because that's my perfect square, times radical 5, and then you have times your -1, right? There's your I. So that's square root of 9 is 3 times radical 5 times I, which again, we're going to write 3I radical 5. This is how you would write the answer. All right? This one, I'm going to break this up. How can I break up? And again, you know you're going to have I in your answer. How can I break up to 24? 2 times 12 is not going to help you because none of those are perfect squares, right? 3 times 8 won't help you. 4 times 6 will help you, right? So we're going to do radical 4 times radical 6, and then again we have times our -1, right? So that's 2I radical 6, right? This one, 48, you got to be careful because a lot of you might say, oh, I'm going to use 4 times 12, right? Radical 4 times radical 12. Yes, that would work, but then you're going to have to break up to 12. So just be careful because if you think about your list of radicals, you have a higher one that would work, right? So instead of a 4 and a 12, I'm going to use radical 16 times radical 3, right? 16 times 3 is 48 times your square root of -1. So this one is going to be 4I radical 3. Okay, so that's just what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to upload a assignment with just practicing all different negative radicals, negative under radicals, and then you let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.